Picture this. You are standing on an open plain somewhere in East Africa. The sun is brutal. The wind is nothing. Your skin is dark, your body is lean, and you are, for all practical purposes, completely naked. And you are fine. You are more than fine. You are perfectly designed for exactly this environment. Every square centimeter of exposed skin is radiating heat, cooling you down, keeping you alive in temperatures that would flatten a chimpanzee in an hour. You don't need clothes. Your body is the solution. So here's the question that should stop you cold. Why did we ever start wearing them? Not why do we wear them now? We know that answer. We live in cities and offices and places where showing up naked gets you arrested. The interesting question is the first time. The moment some human being, standing somewhere on this planet, decided to wrap themselves in something dead. Why? What was happening? And what did that decision eventually do to the species that made it? Because the answer is not simply, it got cold. That explanation is obvious, lazy, and almost certainly incomplete. The real story involves lice, volcanic winters, and a cognitive leap so significant that some researchers believe clothing was not just a response to the environment. It was proof that the human mind had crossed a threshold that nothing else on Earth had ever crossed before. Let's start with the body. The human body is, from a purely zoological standpoint, absurd. We are the only great ape that lost most of its body hair. Every other primate is covered. Gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos, orangutans, all furry, all insulated, all sensibly dressed by evolution.
We shed ours somewhere between 1 and 3 million years ago, and the leading explanation is thermoregulation. Early Homo, hunting on open savannas in the heat of the day, needed to dump heat fast. Fur traps heat. Bare skin with millions of sweat glands does not. We became endurance hunters by becoming naked. That worked brilliantly in Africa. It was a catastrophe everywhere else. The moment early humans began moving out of Africa and into colder latitudes, Europe, Central Asia, eventually Siberia, bare skin became a liability. Temperatures dropped, wind cut through. The body that was perfectly engineered for one environment was suddenly dangerously wrong for another. Here is where the lice come in. And yes, this is going somewhere. Humans have two distinct species of lice: head lice, which live in hair, and body lice, which live specifically in clothing.
Body lice are a genetic offshoot of head lice, meaning they evolved separately at some point, after their ancestors made the jump from hair to fabric. Researchers have used the rate of genetic divergence between head and body lice to estimate when that split happened. The answer comes out to somewhere between 83,000 and 170,000 years ago. That is the molecular clock telling us approximately when humans started wearing enough clothing. We don't have the original clothes. Fabric doesn't fossilize. And the lice are telling us something that no archaeological record can: that humans were wearing clothing regularly, not occasionally, well before they ever left Africa. Which means clothing wasn't just a survival response to cold. It started earlier, in a warm climate. For reasons that are still being debated, and are considerably more interesting than it was chilly. Some researchers point to protection. Skin exposed to thorns, insects, abrasive ground cover, and the 1,000 daily hazards of a life lived entirely outdoors is skin that gets infected, gets torn, becomes a liability. A simple wrap of animal hide is a barrier. It keeps things out. In a world where a minor wound can kill you within a week of infection, that barrier matters more than we can easily imagine. Others point to something less practical and more profound: symbolism, because the archaeological record shows something striking. By the time we have clear evidence of deliberate clothing construction, bone needles, hide-working tools, the whole infrastructure of tailored garments.
The cognitive explosion that produced art and ceremony and complex social identity appears in the record right alongside the cognitive explosion that produced fitted, intentional clothing. That timing is not random. Making clothing, real clothing, not just draping a skin over your shoulders, requires a specific kind of thinking. You have to model a future situation you are not currently in. You have to imagine being cold before you are cold. You have to plan for conditions that do not yet exist, construct a solution in advance, the ability to simulate a future version of reality. Here for it. Almost nothing else in the animal kingdom does this with the complexity humans do.
A human sewing a cold weather garment in the middle of summer is doing something categorically different. They are holding a mental model of a future they cannot see, in a climate they may have never personally experienced. Using materials that require multiple stages of complex preparation. By around 30,000 years ago, humans in Eastern Europe were not just wrapping themselves in skin.
These were people who understood twisting, interlacing, tensioning, the geometry of thread. They were producing something that required sustained attention, planning, and almost certainly specialization. Someone in the group was the person who knew how to do this, and that person had learned it from someone else. Clothing is the moment humans began building a layer between themselves and the raw physics of the world. Before clothing, the environment decided what you could survive. After clothing, you negotiated with it. You extended your range. You walked into climates that should have killed you and lived there anyway. You crossed mountain ranges in winter. You followed prey into the frozen north and stayed. Every human population that exists above the equator exists because at some point, someone solved the cold. The whale doesn't wear a wetsuit. The wolf doesn't sew.
Every other creature on this planet is either suited to its environment by birth or it dies in the wrong one. Humans are the only species that looked at the problem from the outside, invented a solution from scratch, and that is not a small thing. That is the thing. The moment we wrapped ourselves in something that wasn't us, we announced, without knowing it, that we were no longer just animals responding to the world. Every piece of fabric touching your skin is the end of a thread that runs back 100,000 years to someone standing in the heat of Africa, doing something no creature had ever done before. Deciding that the world as it was not quite good enough, and making it better.